Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, welcome to the deep dive.
We're really glad you're here with us today.
Yeah, so today we're kind of embarking on this journey, right alongside you, and focusing on what it really needs to grow as individuals.
And also how to build relationships, the kind that genuinely, nourish us.
That's right. Think of this as your maybe personal shortcut to understanding how you can consciously shape a life that's filled with purpose.
And connections that really matter.
Exactly.
We're your hosts for this. I'm Bea
And I'm Max.
And I'm a certified life and mindset coach. I've spent years helping people, particularly women who are navigating life's second chapter, helping them break free from what holds them back, really, and step into their power.
And from my side, I'm fascinated by how we connect, not just with partners, though that's huge, but also with ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
It's all about creating those strong, safe spaces.
Yeah.
Inside and out.
Yeah.
We go through our days navigating, the external world, conversations, decisions, big and small. But there's this constant internal buzz happening, isn't there? The dialogue we're having solely with ourselves.
Absolutely. And this inner conversation, it's so much more than just fleeting thoughts. It's a continuous narrative, really. And the different voices that contribute to it, they profoundly shape our self-perception, our approach to life, and ultimately the paths we choose.
Yeah, what strikes me is that it's rarely just one single unified voice in there. It's more like an internal committee, right? Each member kind of vying for attention. We're all familiar with that persistent inner critic, the one seemingly dedicated to pointing out every single flaw and misstep.
Precisely. And often alongside that critical voice, there's usually a more nurturing one, an internal caregiver, always concerned with our well-being. But then, just to make things interesting, there's that other voice, the one that pops up right when we're about to achieve something big, whispering doubts and anxieties. That's the saboteur.
Exactly, that's the one. So what we're aiming to do today is really bring these internal voices out into the open. We want to help you recognize who's actually talking in your head, understand the influence they have, and, ultimately, gain greater agency over that internal chatter. The goal is making sure your decisions come from your genuine desires and core values, rather than just, the loudest voice winning the argument inside.
What's really fascinating here is that for so many of us, these internal voices, they just operate beneath the surface. We don't even notice them consciously. We react to what they say without truly registering their presence, let alone stopping to question if they're right or helpful. So the crucial first step really is just bringing them into conscious awareness.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with that very familiar character, the inner critic. What's its main job in our internal landscape?
At its core, the inner critic acts like an internal judge. It's constantly evaluating and, let's be honest, often finding us lacking. It's the voice that introduces doubt, zooms in on imperfections, and tends to replay past failures over and over, leaving us with that nagging feeling of inadequacy.
Right. And how can we recognize when this critic is taking over our thoughts? What are the telltale signs?
You'll often hear it through negative self-talk, those automatic negative thoughts like, oh, I just can't do this, or it's way too hard for me. You might also notice these really deeply ingrained negative beliefs about your own self-worth bubbling up. Things like, I'm just fundamentally flawed, or I don't really deserve good things.
Yeah.
And the critic absolutely loves comparison. It's constantly measuring you against others and, surprise, surprise, finding you falling short. Look how much easier they have it, or they're just naturally smarter.
It's almost like a default setting, a negativity track playing on repeat. Where does this ingrained critical voice even come from?
Often, the inner critic's roots go way back to our formative years, especially childhood experiences. It can develop as a protective mechanism, maybe in response to negative feedback or harsh criticism or just tough early environments. Initially, its intention, believe it or not, might have been to help us avoid mistakes or prevent pain, but as we get older, this voice that maybe once tried to protect us can become overly judgmental and actually end up limiting our potential. You could think of it like this. Those early critical messages were like software getting installed in your young mind. Now, as adults, we actually have the power to uninstall those outdated programs and install new, more supportive ones.
Huh. So it started out maybe trying to help, but it can become really quite detrimental over time. What practical steps can we actually take to quiet this inner critic down? How do we lessen its power?
Well, the very first step is simply noticing when that critical voice pipes up. Start paying close attention to those negative thoughts when they arise. Just observe them. Then, make a conscious effort to counter it. Recall your past achievements, your inherent strengths, those times you did successfully navigate challenges. Actively argue back, you could say, using factual evidence from your own life. And, importantly, begin to consciously replace those negative self-assessments with positive affirmations and more realistic, balanced beliefs about yourself.
It's like actively retraining our thought patterns, building a defense against the critic's usual attacks.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's switch gears to a, hopefully, more comforting presence, the inner caregiver. This sounds like a welcome contrast.
It really is. The caregiver voice is your internal source of warmth, empathy, and understanding. It's the voice that reminds you of your intrinsic value, encourages you to prioritize your own well-being, and really emphasizes the vital importance of self-care.
And what are some of the signals that the caregiver is speaking? What kind of thoughts or maybe internal nudges might we experience?
You'll notice more positive and supportive self-talk. Things like, you've been working really hard, you deserve some rest. Or, it's okay, really, it's okay to prioritize your needs. Or even, you have every right to pursue happiness and fulfillment. The caregiver often reinforces the importance of self-compassion, reminding you that looking after yourself isn't selfish at all, but actually essential for your overall well-being. You might also get these gentle internal prompts to just slow down, take a moment for yourself, or, hey, you've done a lot, give yourself some breathing room.
So this is the voice encouraging us to be kind, to be gentle with ourselves, to acknowledge our limits and our needs. What's the underlying purpose of this voice? Why is it there?
Its primary purpose is protection, safeguarding your mental and physical health. It strives to create balance in your life, prevent burnout. It's basically your internal advocate for well-being. Now, what's interesting here, and maybe a bit counterintuitive, is that sometimes this nurturing voice can become so dominant that it inadvertently overshadows other parts of ourselves, maybe the parts that are more ambitious or willing to take risks. We might end up prioritizing comfort and security so much that we avoid challenges that could actually lead to significant growth.
That's a really interesting point about that potential imbalance. So how can we effectively support our inner caregiver without letting it completely sideline our desire for growth and achievement?
It's all about cultivating conscious balance. Actively create space for rest and rejuvenation, absolutely. But also intentionally carve out time for pursuing your goals and stretching beyond your comfort zone. Pay attention to your body's signals when it genuinely needs a break, for sure. But also try to recognize when you might be using the need for self-care as maybe an excuse to avoid something challenging but ultimately rewarding. Remember, true well-being includes both nurturing yourself and pursuing a life of purpose and growth. It's not either.
That makes perfect sense. It's about finding that sweet spot, that balance. Okay, now for the sneakier member of our internal committee, the saboteur. This one sounds particularly tricky to deal with.
Oh, it can be quite insidious, yeah. The saboteur voice often shows up precisely when you're on the verge of a big breakthrough. You know, when you're getting close to achieving a really meaningful goal. It generates hesitation, plants those little seeds of doubt, and can ultimately undermine your efforts and, frankly, derail your dreams. It might even tap into a fear of success itself, prompting thoughts like, what if I actually get this? Can I handle the responsibility? Or maybe it's safer not to even try, then I definitely can't fail.
Oof. What does the saboteur actually sound like? What kind of thoughts and anxieties does it typically bring up?
You'll often hear thoughts expressing a sense of unworthiness. I don't really deserve this success, or that classic, if things are going this well, something bad is bound to happen to even it out. There's frequently an underlying fear about what success might actually mean. What if I can't live up to the new expectations? Or even a kind of preemptive regret. Maybe this isn't really what I want after all. It might just be too much pressure. It might also whisper doubts about your identity, like, will people still like me if I change, if I achieve this?
It's almost like a fear of upsetting the status quo, isn't it? Even if that status quo isn't making us happy. What's the underlying motivation behind this self-sabotaging voice? Why does it try to hold us back?
Well, the saboteur often functions as a misguided defense mechanism. It's usually rooted in a fear of the unknown and the discomfort of stepping outside our familiar comfort zone. It's driven by anxieties about potential failure, yes, but also, sometimes, by a fear of the changes that success might bring, that feeling of losing control over our lives. It clings to what's familiar, even if that familiar territory is ultimately limiting our growth and our fulfillment.
Right, clinging to the known, even if it's not great. So how do we effectively counter this internal saboteur and stop it from hijacking our progress?
Okay, the first crucial step is just to recognize that this voice showing up is often a natural part of the growth process. It happens to almost everyone. Don't beat yourself up for having these doubts. Then, try breaking down your larger goals into smaller, much more manageable steps. This can really help diminish that feeling of being overwhelmed and lessen the intensity of the fear associated with taking a huge leap. And importantly, actively challenge those sabotaging thoughts. Consciously replace them with positive affirmations that reinforce your capabilities and your inherent worthiness of success. Remind yourself of past times you overcame challenges and achieved things. You've done it before.
It sounds like it's about identifying the pattern, understanding the fear underneath it all, and then consciously choosing a more empowering internal story. Now, we've talked about these three common internal voices, the critic, the caregiver, the saboteur. What practical strategies can we as individuals use to get better at recognizing who's speaking in our minds at any given moment?
This is where that practice of conscious awareness or conscious listening becomes so valuable. One really helpful exercise is to dedicate just a few minutes each day, maybe try for a week, to simply observe your internal dialogue without judging it. Just notice when different thoughts arise. Ask yourself, okay, does this line of thinking sound like the critical voice focusing on flaws? Or is this the saboteur raising anxieties as I think about that new project? Or is this the caregiver gently reminding me I need a break? Once you start to identify the distinct flavors, let's say, of each voice, take a moment, evaluate the message it's sending, and honestly assess, is this message truly serving my best interests right now, or is it actually holding me back?
That's like tuning into our internal radio station and becoming more discerning listeners, isn't it? Choosing which station to give our attention to. And what about those more negative voices, particularly that inner critic? How can we actively start to reshape their tone and their impact?
Right. When you recognize the inner critic is active, really make a conscious effort to reframe its message. Turn it into something more constructive and supportive. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, I'm definitely going to fail at this, consciously try to rephrase it. Something like, okay, this is a challenging situation, but I have the skills and resources to tackle it step by step. Creating your own personalized positive affirmations that directly counter the critic's usual attacks can be incredibly powerful over time. It's really about consciously rewriting your internal script, shifting from a narrative of self-doubt to one of self-encouragement and realistic optimism.
This has been incredibly illuminating. It's almost as if we each have this internal cast of characters constantly influencing our lives.
Yeah.
And just developing the awareness to recognize their roles is the crucial first step towards consciously directing the whole narrative.
Precisely. That internal dialogue, it's a constant companion. It's just a natural part of being human. What truly matters is the nature of your relationship with those internal voices. How much power do you allow them to have over your choices?
And it's so important to remember, isn't it, that even those seemingly negative voices, like the critic or the saboteur, they often started from a place of trying to protect us, even if their methods aren't really helping us anymore.
Exactly. Recognizing their potential origins can actually foster a sense of compassion towards these parts of ourselves. It makes it easier to approach them with understanding rather than just harsh judgment, which often just strengthens them.
So ultimately, it really boils down to conscious choice, doesn't it? We have the power to decide how we engage with these internal voices, which ones we choose to amplify and which ones we gently guide towards playing a more constructive role in our inner world.
Absolutely. Learning to recognize them, to thoughtfully question their messages, and to intentionally cultivate a more empowering and supportive inner dialogue, well, it's an ongoing journey, but it's one that yields profoundly positive results in how we navigate our lives and pursue the things that truly matter to us.
So here's a final thought for you to consider as we wrap up. You are the narrator of your own life story. Maybe start speaking to yourself with the same unwavering kindness, the same steadfast encouragement, and the same profound belief that you would readily offer your absolute dearest friend.
Okay, so welcome back. We've spent some time today digging into this whole idea of a personal revolution.
Yeah, and it's maybe not what you first think.
Right.
Not some huge overnight thing.
Exactly. It's more about seeing growth, seeing change as just Constant, always happening, a part of life.
And look, if you're listening to this, chances are you're already, on some kind of path.
You're probably aiming for something, or maybe just trying to figure things out a bit more.
Or even just wanting like a bit more meaning day to day. It all counts.
So, as we kind of wrap things up here, the big thing to hold on to, I think, is that this process, this personal revolution stuff we talked about,
it doesn't really stop.
It really doesn't. Every single day kind of throws up new angles, new opportunities to learn something or shift a little.
For sure. And if anything we discussed today kind of clicked for you.
Sparked an idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Or maybe made you want to actually do something, then, run with it. Keep that feeling going.
Absolutely. And hey, if you are looking for like more regular nudges or practical thoughts on this,
keeping that growth going.
Yeah, keeping it going. We genuinely love it if you subscribed, follow along.
That way you won't miss out when we explore other stuff too. And honestly, we really do appreciate it when you share these chats or leave a review.
Oh, definitely. It seriously helps other people find this, people who might get something out of it too.
Plus your feedback. Always good to hear what lands,
Totally. Now, okay, if you're feeling like taking maybe a more focused step.
Like something specific.
Yeah, particularly around, say, understanding your relationships a bit better. We actually have a free quiz for that.
Ah, right. The quiz, the link's in the description for this deep dive, right?
Yep, right there in the description.
And it's pretty quick, yeah. It's designed to maybe just help you spot some of the patterns.
The underlying stuff, yeah, and how you connect with people.
Right. And maybe show you where even like tiny shifts could actually make a real difference.
It's amazing sometimes, isn't it? Just pausing for that kind of reflection can suddenly light up things you just hadn't seen before. It's all part of that revolution we're talking about.
It is. So, don't hesitate. Go check out the quiz if that sounds useful.
The link's right there for you.
And just remember, this whole journey, this personal growth path, your personal revolution, it's happening inside you.
Every day.
Every single day. It unfolds from within.
Well said. Thanks so much for diving deep with us today.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.